Thanks, Vin, and good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to be here and have a chance to tell you about our latest innovations in our Creative Cloud solution. So, as Vin mentioned, I'm responsible for Adobe's digital imaging products, but what he didn't say is I'm also a client of those products. I'm a passionate photographer, and I travel around the world seeking to capture compelling images. And in those travels, what I've learned, I've had the opportunity to meet and work with photographers of all different skill levels. And what I've learned from those experiences is that there are more people than ever before that are able to express their creative vision. Everybody has a creative vision. And now, thanks to the proliferation of technology, more people than ever before are able to convey that vision through media. And I had a particular example that illustrates that. Back in January, I was literally at the World's End down in Antarctica, and on a boat with a diverse mixture of people, from crew members to scientists to photographers to adventurers. All of them came and told me how Photoshop had touched their life and showed me the work that they were creating with Photoshop. And I just walked away and said, there's no corner of this world that you can go to where somebody doesn't have a vision they're looking to express through media, and just the enormous footprint and reach that Photoshop has had in empowering people to realize those visions. Now, I'm excited to be here in Berlin. This is my first time in Berlin. Been to many other German cities, but it's great to be here and catch all the great sights and meet all the exciting people. So this is just a fantastic trip for me. We've been surveying creatives around the world to kind of take the creative pulse. And from the responses, we've been getting some very interesting patterns that have emerged. First off, creatives around the world are increasingly positive about their ability to impact change in the world. Secondly, they're recognizing the tremendous change that technology is having on their business and the opportunities and the challenges that's presenting. I'll go back. Getting a little out of sync here. So in terms of our survey of German creatives, some of the specific results, you are overwhelmingly positive. You firmly believe that your best days are ahead of you. 82% of you see that your ability to impact business, your influence on business, is increasing. But 65% of you are working more and more mobilely than ever before, at an average of 5 different locations per week. And mobile technology has both changed what you have to create and how you're creating it. And in this new world where there's more ways than ever before to be able to reach people and make an impact, success is becoming more and more dependent upon being skilled in multiple disciplines. And success is also becoming more and more critically dependent on being able to collaborate and share with others. And so it's for all these reasons and more that we created Creative Cloud. So what is Creative Cloud? Let's recap for a moment. Creative Cloud is a connected creation ecosystem that has all the tools, services, and assets that you need to do your very best work. It has the apps, both desktop and mobile, that are necessary to be able to craft your media. It has the community that can inspire you or you can inspire. It has the assets that you can leverage in building your great works, and it has the marketplace that will help you build your business.
I'm here to observe as much as I can and create a piece of work with the Creative Cloud apps. I come into a place like this and I'm very inspired by the landscape here. I really love the shadows on the sand. I'm very in tune with sound, I'm in tune with touch, I'm in tune with texture in the sand, or how the sky moves with the clouds. All those senses bring an emotional response. These tools are great because they allow me to put the stuff I see into my work. The details, the texture, the sparkles of the sand, the gradation, the colors. All the inspiration I gather appears here in my library. It's very powerful to be here. I'm never going to create an office again.
I love that video. Just one example of how Creative Cloud is opening up the freedom for a creative to be able to work how she wants, where she wants, and when she wants. So I'm really thrilled to be able to talk to you this morning about the latest innovations that we've just announced in our 2015 release of Creative Cloud. The key pillars of this release of Creative Cloud are, first, all of our apps are connected in a way like never before, both mobile and desktop. Now, with a unified experience, it's possible for you to be able to start your work in one place and then seamlessly move to another. CreativeSync is the technology at the heart of Creative Cloud. It's the technologies that make your creative world available to you wherever you are, whatever device, and how you need it. And with Adobe Stock, we've integrated a vast library of stock assets directly within your creative workflow. So let's take a closer look at CreativeSync. CreativeSync makes your design assets available to wherever you're at. Your photos, your fonts, your colors, your design elements, instantly available on whatever device you're at, when you need it, and how you need it. CreativeSync makes all the fonts you need available to you on the web, on desktop, and even on mobile. CreativeSync allows you to be able to start your work on mobile, to be able to capture design elements, inspiration, and then be able to take it back to your desktop where you can put more precision and performance into a final project. Libraries allow you to connect with others and collaborate on a shared project. With the Behance community, you can connect with creatives all across the world, be able to share your work, get feedback, and make connections for further collaboration. And with Stock, you have assets that you can leverage directly within your creative workflow. So using Stock has been something that many, many creatives do. It's a $4 billion marketplace worldwide, but it's always been very manual and cumbersome to use it. So with the acquisition of Fotolia, Adobe is announcing Adobe Stock, where we're now integrating 40 million plus Fotolia assets directly within your creative workflow. It's never been easier than before to be able to use stock imagery within your creative projects. So I hope you'll agree that Adobe is far more than a desktop product company, that Creative Cloud is a creative ecosystem solution across all your devices, allowing you to work wherever you're at, however you want, and in whatever way you want. So now let's take a closer look at the innovations in the 2015 release, specifically around how CreativeSync and Adobe Stock can make your creations more efficient. And so to do this, I'd like to invite my colleagues Rufus Deuchler and Michael Chaize to come out and give you a tour of these technologies.
Thank you, Winston. Great stuff, great stuff. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 2015 release of Creative Cloud. The one thing that I would like to start with is explaining a little bit at how CreativeSync works and what CreativeSync really is. Basically, what we're going to do now is showcase a workflow that actually leverages CreativeSync. And to do that, let me just put, everybody saw my password worldwide. It's my birthday. Normal. Okay, so basically what we're going to show you is how we can leverage the power of Adobe Stock to find stock imagery and how to use that stock imagery in an application that we've launched a few months ago called Adobe Comp, and then use that Adobe composition in Photoshop and continue the workflow there. And then we'll go over to Michael, who is going to show us some of the capture apps and how all of these things work together with CreativeSync, really making a workflow that makes sense. So here I am in the brand new Adobe Stock that got launched today. And Basically, what I have here is, let me take this, the keyboard away. We have, of course, the website, the possibility to search inside of Adobe Stock, but all of these things are also integrated inside of the 2015 apps. So you will see that happening as soon as you download those as well. So let's create a search. And what I would like to do is create a layout about Berlin today. So let's find pictures about Berlin and search for those. And I will be searching through 40 million images, more than 40 million images, and here are the first results. So I can very easily now go in here and choose an image, for example. If I like this one, I can see a little bit more detail. I can also decide whether I want to license it right away, or if I want to save a preview. A preview is a watermarked for placement image that I can use in my designs. It's a rather large image that is useful for placement, and I can also find similar images. But let's start by saving a preview. So I'm simply going to save a preview to a specific folder. Let's select that again. Please wait. And now this image is being saved into my CC libraries, okay, through CreativeSync. Let's also find maybe similar images to this one. And again, I will look inside of the Fotolia library here, images that are similar to this one. So I say maybe I can also take this image here. And again, I will go directly here, and I've saved the preview to my library. And the image was saved. Now I'm ready actually to move over to Comp CC. Let me go over here to Comp CC. Basically, Comp is the application on mobile devices that actually let me create layouts. And we have Comp. We also have that on Android now, right? No, Comp is not on Android. Oh, all the other ones are. But yes, that was a glitch. But on the iPad, I can create very good layouts for mobile, for print, for web, as we have some examples here. And just to show you how easy that is, let's create a new layout. And say that I want to create a new layout for the iPad, for example. So I start with a blank page. And there are a few gestures that I can learn. For example, making a square creates a square. If I do an X, it creates an image box. If I do a few lines and then a dot, it creates a text placeholder. So let's go back onto my drawing here, and let's say that I want an image here on this side, and I'm going to draw the X, and this is now an image placeholder. Okay? And then I say maybe that I want a headline over here, and I'm going to change that later, and maybe a line here, and then let me just few lines here and a dot, and that's body text. And then I can, of course, go back into editing mode, and I will say, okay, this text is this size, and then if I go into the detail here, I can leverage another thing that is very important with CreativeSync. The ability to sync fonts from my desktop, from my mobile devices, to the Typekit desktop fonts. So basically here I can go choose a font. I can add fonts directly from Typekit. From within the app, I go to the whole Typekit library here. I can search for fonts. I can filter through fonts. For example, I can filter through fonts. If I tap here, I can say, OK, I'm looking for a font that has a medium weight and maybe a medium width as well. Okay? And then I have all these fonts updating here, and it proposes active grotesque, for example. So let me take this font here, look at it in detail, and then I can select some fonts and say OK, and update those fonts to my document. Then I close this, and if I select my text and go to active grotesque here, standard, I can apply that font directly to the text inside of my layout. Okay? This is really great because this is the first time that I have access to other fonts than those who are available on the iOS. Okay? I can activate all these fonts from Typekit, and that's thanks to CreativeSync. Then here, we'll have a title here. I can change maybe this a little bit. Let's make the type a little bit smaller, and you can see I can really adjust the size of the type very easily with a few touches. And then here, what I want to do is to place that image that we've just downloaded from Adobe Stock. So let me say I want to go to my libraries here. Let me go to the Germany library where I downloaded that image, and let me place that for placement image, that FPO image. And then I can, of course, place that image again. I can, if I go back into drawing, I can add more elements. And once I'm done, and I've created that layout, it's very easy to press this little button here and actually send to other places. For example, get feedback on Behance. So from Comp, I can directly send this composition to Behance and say, hey, what do you think? Do you like that layout? What should I change? I can send it to InDesign. I can send it to Photoshop. I can send it to Illustrator, right from my mobile device. So in this case, what I want to do is to send it to Photoshop CC 2015. So basically, what's going to happen now is that Comp actually packages all of the elements that I've been using and uploads them to my libraries through CreativeSync. And what? If I go to Photoshop, yes, and I go to the right library, for example. Oh, here we go. OK, we already have. And I want to go to the Germany library. And here we already see that inside of this, inside of my library, I already have the images that I took, that I actually selected on my mobile device. So imagine I'm on the go. I might be on the U-Bahn and select the images for a work that I want to finish in my office. And then when I get to my office, inside of my CC libraries, thanks to CreativeSync, I have all of my elements there already. So looking at this, I think I need a nicer title. And I'm going to ask Michael to create a title for me, something graphic, something creative, something design. Do you know what I mean? You know, like something, yeah, something creative and design. Okay,
yeah,
I
sure.
want something. Yeah, do you get that?
Yeah, sure, Rufus.
All right, okay.
Yeah, this is what I hate
I love
with
talking to my designer here. He understands me all the time.
Yeah, this kind of stuff from the customers, very easy to understand. Just do something more design. Okay. I was drawing something because, as you may have noticed, a lot of creatives, especially the young generation, they go back to traditional techniques. They play with ink, they play with lettering, and we believe that it's great and that we can provide a bridge from analog to digital, leveraging mobile applications. And here, for the first time, I will show you the Creative Cloud mobile applications on Android. So starting today, you can try for free Adobe Shape, Adobe Color, Adobe Brush, and these apps are available on Android and iOS. So let me show you how it works. We will start with Adobe Brush. I have a very cute drawing here. I guess you recognize it. And yeah, I guess it's creative enough for Rufus. So I will convert this drawing into a brush. So this is Adobe Brush here, and I will say that I want to use my camera, and it will recognize what I'm shooting here. And just tapping here, I will create an alpha mask to say this is what I want to preserve. Take a picture. Then I will just crop. There we go. To say this is what I want to keep. And then you can create several kinds of brush. Brush for Photoshop, brush for Photoshop Sketch, which is a drawing app on the iPad, and also brush is for Illustrator. He's working on Photoshop, so let's keep this one, and I can try it. OK, it looks nice, but maybe I need more space between my drawing. So I will just adjust my settings here. OK, now it's perfect. And I will save it to the Berlin Creative Cloud library, because this is a brush that will be directly synced to this library that is shared with Rufus. So you can have shared Creative Cloud libraries, and several designers can work on the same project in the same library, and then you share your brush, you share your shapes, your colors, and we all work with all the assets that are synced thanks to CreativeSync. So we will see. He should get it in a few seconds. And now I want to take this lettering art, especially this one, this is the one I prefer, and convert it into a shape. So let's see what it means. So I will launch Adobe Shape, use the camera again, and play with the threshold, okay, to fill the shape. Here we go. And what it does is that it captures the bitmap data, and what is in green is that what will be kept, okay, for the app. So using my finger, I will say, I don't need this. I need the B. I don't need this. Okay. Looks like it's the same shape. But it's fine. I will show you why it's fine. And I will ask Adobe Shape to recognize all the vectors inside. So it will create smooth curves, vectors, directly within the app, and using CreativeSync, send it to my Creative Cloud library. So this is Berlin logo. Here we go. And now it's synced using CreativeSync. So if we go back to my computer here, I have Illustrator open here with my Creative Cloud libraries panel opened, and it's already there. And as you can see, I keep all the dots, and I can go inside. I can select what I want to keep, what I want to remove. So this is why it's very useful. I can play also on kerning in this case. Okay, say, okay, I want to modify the kerning. So this is true vectors coming from this paper, you know, just in a few seconds, yes. This is just the appetizer, okay? You'll get more. And now I will go here, and you see this icon. It means that it's a shared Creative Cloud library, because I'm working with Rufus. So I will go inside Berlin. I will take my logo and add it here. And now, if we go back to your computer, in the Berlin Creative Cloud library, you should see something coming.
Okay, I'm super anxious to see that. I see that Creative Cloud is syncing.
Oh.
Okay, oh, it finished syncing. And here I have the brush that you created. And, oh, the artwork is coming here. So it is syncing.
Okay.
It is syncing
it's
very hard.
Oh, let me show you one trick. Drag and drop it.
I just drag and drop it while it's syncing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let me just drag and drop it.
Oh,
here we go. All right. So basically, I've just taken your vector data and put that into Photoshop directly from my Creative Cloud library. All right, but Michael,
yes.
Can we have something? I like it, but can we have something with a little bit more love? You know, because I love Berlin, and I want to see that in the title. No, just a little bit more love.
Yeah, sure.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if we go back to my computer, now I want to show you something that is really a game changer for all the people in this room and on the live stream too, which are the linked smart objects. So I guess you're familiar with smart objects. Now you can have linked smart objects in Creative Cloud, which means that now I am working on this logo. I can be in Paris, anywhere in the world, and I will add more love to this logo. I don't know what it means, but
just do it.
OK, let's do something like this. I guess you will be happy. OK. And now I will just press Save, OK? Because this smart object is synced, thanks to CreativeSync, in the cloud, which means that all the designers who are working with these assets in all the documents will get the update and will see this beautiful heart in their design. So this is something that should come. So do you like it? I guess you can. I guess it would be useful. Yeah? OK, give me some love for linked smart object.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
OK. So if I go back to my artwork here, I see that, yes, there is indeed a little alert sign here saying, oh, there's something changed here. So if I control-click on it, what I can do is to actually
update
modified content, and here it is.
Ooh.
That's a lot of love. Thank you. So yeah, so we put a little bit of love in Berlin, and but okay, now I want to work a little bit with these images that I have here, the stock image that I got from Adobe Stock. And for example, what I want to do here is to apply some filters. So let me go to the blur gallery and maybe add some tilt shift to this image. Let's move it over here. Oh, I'm moving the whole thing. OK, let's have the tilt shift here. Press Enter. Apply that to the image. And then maybe also let's have maybe a camera raw filter on it, and maybe remove some of the saturation in the image, because it was very saturated.
Yeah.
I say OK to that and apply that to the image. All right. So now in the past, working with stock photography would have meant that once the customer approved that, I would have had to license the image and redo everything that what I did on the picture. What I can do now, because this is actually, let me just zoom into here. This is a linked smart object. It's a smart object that resides in the cloud. What I can do is go to my image, which is in the other library here, in my Germany library, and it is this one. And what I can do is Control-click on it and say, license that image, straight from Photoshop. So I say, license, opla. I think I pressed the wrong one. Photoshop, OK. Press the wrong button, Control-click, license image. And now the Adobe Stock will ask me, do you want to license that image? Yes, OK. And it tells me how many more licenses I have. And now, once this is updating, and it'll take some time, it'll download the high-resolution file. And let's wait just a few more seconds for that. Otherwise, we'll come back to it when I will talk about design. But maybe we want to just go over a little bit of what we've seen, what CreativeSync actually is.
I mean, yeah, so what we've seen is Rufus starting on an iPad, working in a composition. Again, it can be anywhere. You can even be offline, and then once you get the network, you sync your composition, you decide to send it to Photoshop, InDesign, or Illustrator, and then working in another designer, very talented designer, doing some lettering. I was able to use the Capture apps to transform drawings into shapes, into brushes. I could capture color, everything is synced in a shared Creative Cloud library. I can retouch my logo in Illustrator, automatically send the modifications, and everything is done with the power of Creative Cloud. And now if you look at your screen...
Yeah, and CreativeSync just updated the image that I have here in my layout. So it replaced the for position only, the watermarked image, with the high-resolution licensed image from Adobe Stock.
And you keep the blur. And
it kept the blur, it kept the adjustments that I did, and this is truly a great new workflow. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's go back to the slides. All right, so that's some pretty amazing stuff in terms of what CreativeSync, linked libraries, and Adobe Stock, how efficiently allows you to be able to do your creations across devices and collaborate with each other. So now let's turn and look at what the latest innovations in the 2015 release of Creative Cloud are doing for the disciplines of design, web, photography, and video. So again, we'll turn back to Rufus and Michael to give us a tour of what innovations we've done in those areas.
All right, thank you, Winston. And the place I would like to start with is Adobe Illustrator, which is, of course, the tool of choice when we work with vector graphics. And version after version, we've worked a lot to make Illustrator always more powerful, more performant, faster to use. Because as time went by, and I've been in the graphic design industry since 1992, the vector illustrations became more and more complex. And the 2015 release of Illustrator won't disappoint in that aspect either. Let me show you this illustration here. Opla, I went to it. Let me just go here in the outline mode, and you will see that this is indeed a very, very complex illustration, right? You agree with me?
Yeah.
Yeah? How many of you do illustrations that complex? Nobody. All right, but it'll fasten up your simpler illustrations as well. Because what happened in the past, and this happened with almost all illustrations, is when they became a little bit heavier, more vector data, and more, how can I say, filters applied. This is what happened. You know, it builds up on your screen. It's kind of annoying when you zoom into the image and parts of the image are missing, and then they come in, and then the image builds. Let me zoom in a little bit more. And the same thing would happen if I use the pan tool and move to another area. It would all be choppy and really difficult to navigate a complex document like that. So of course, what we've just seen here is Illustrator CS6. Okay, this is why I see all of the images building up like that. And I just wanted to show you how it used to be. Because if I quit out of here and go into Illustrator CC 2015, what we have up here is a new little icon, a little rocket icon. And basically, that is your shortcut to speed in Illustrator. Why? Because when I click this little button, what happens is I go into the preferences, and you will see that I can enable GPU performance for Illustrator. So it really leverages the power of my machine to render the images much, much faster. And I can also use, if I want to, the animated zoom. I remember in Photoshop a few years back when we introduced the animated zoom, some people found it very strange to use that animated zoom. So in Illustrator, we also made sure that it was a choice, to whether you want it or not to see that animated zoom. So let's say OK to this, and let's start zooming into this picture. Okay? And you see that the picture doesn't build up anymore. Okay? And if I click and drag with my zoom, you see that I have a pretty fluid navigation of the document now. Okay, so I can really go into a specific area and move back out again. What we really did is we made Illustrator 10 times faster than how it used to be. And another thing is this. If I go here and go to 100%, oh, that's actually the 100%. In previous versions of Illustrator, the limit of zoom was 6,400%. Okay, that was the extent to which I could zoom into an image. In the 2015 release of Illustrator, we've enhanced that zoom factor to, make a drum roll, 64,000%. Yes, 64,000%, which actually, let me just click and zoom, and let me go check out what's in this area here. Let me zoom into this spaceship here. And oh, there's windows in the spaceship. I can zoom even more, and then more, and then more, and more. And now I'm 64,000%, and somebody in that spaceship wrote, "I love Deutschland," because there's so much love, See, you get it? And this is a heart, okay? Not like a little outline of a heart, all right? And basically, this is just to show you that we are now seeing things in Illustrator that were previously not possible to see. I mean, at this level of zoom factor. Now, so this is one thing that was that's introduced now today in Illustrator CC 2015. One thing that I wanted to show you, and I'm going to create a new document, is also, and I will show you a couple of those today, are things that we are working on. Because I want to show you what we did in the past, what we're doing now, and what we're thinking about for the future as well. And one tool that I've heard year after year, version after version, people coming to me and saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing with this tool here?" Yes? This tool here? The tool that hasn't changed since 1988? Maybe, no, I don't know. Anyway, a long time ago. Well, what we have here, we have enabled a preview. It's almost a beta of a new tool that we're working on, which we call the CC Charts tool. All right? And if I select that tool and create a chart on my document now, you will see that I have a whole new interface for creating charts. Right now, the beta, or this preview, offers the possibility to create a chart based, scaling elements based on value. But you see that we're also working on repeating charts, and columns charts, on bar charts, even line charts, all sorts of charts. But the cool thing about these charts is that they're CreativeSync enabled. They work on a remote server, and then they get placed inside of your document. So basically, let's say I want to work on that chart. I say Edit on Creative Cloud, and this will create a graphic element here inside of my library and open it inside of my Creative Cloud assets. So if I go here, and it'll open the preview page, and this is where I can then edit the chart. And there's several things I can do here. I can I will be able to choose the chart types. I can choose whether I want to stretch the images or not. I can have a flowing chart or a free-form chart. I can even take these little people and move them around in the exact position that I want. But more importantly for charts, of course, is the data. And the data allows me to either import comma-separated values, Excel sheets, or to write the data right in here. So I can write one value here. Let's apply this, and boom, I now have my fourth little guy inside of my chart. And when I say, OK, save, syncing the chart back to my library. Okay, now it's done. The chart has been saved to my Berlin library. If I go back to Illustrator, my illustration has already been changed. And then, of course, I can go into any piece of that and say, I want this guy here to have another color, for example. Or I can say, let me just move out and go back to the first level again. I can say, maybe I want these not to be people, but I want to use the Berlin bear. So I'm just going to take, let me just go here and say I want to place a copy of this, of the Berlin bear here. And basically, I can take that image here, drag it over my charts, and boom, I've replaced that. And that will, of course, you like that? I was pretty sure you would. And basically, this will then update my image in my library, and it'll update the image inside of my chart service. And the cool thing about that, because it lives in a library, in a CC library operated by CreativeSync, this chart can then be used in InDesign, in Photoshop, in Illustrator, wherever I need it. Okay, so what I wanted to really point out about Illustrator, and we've seen some of the workflows with Michael before using Shape and Brush, and that was on an Android device, yep. Yes, because they've been launched 2 days ago, right? So it's Brush, Shape, Color, and Photoshop Mix, and another one that we're going to see later. Basically, what I want to point out here today is that Illustrator is not a single application anymore. It's part of a family of applications, which is all glued together through CreativeSync. So we have capture apps, we have drawing apps on mobile devices that work together with Illustrator. So really, this is a new concept that we're introducing, is this concept of family of applications. And there's the Illustrator family, the Photoshop family, and all of these things living together. And just to give a quick idea of how the end-to-end workflow works, I would like to show you guys a video of my friend Brian Yap actually using the whole workflow from drawing on mobile and then finishing in Adobe Illustrator. Let's see Brian Yap. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I've been following Brian from the very beginning when he started using Adobe Ideas. That's how the application was called in the past. And how what I noticed is that Brian actually started a new type of illustration, a completely new feeling of illustration with these very precise strokes done on a mobile device. And this really started a trend in the illustration world. And I found that pretty fascinating how a device actually could create a graphic trend. And this is what I saw with Brian Yap and Adobe Ideas and the iPad at that time. Now, let's move on to Adobe InDesign, because of course InDesign is also an application, again, just like Illustrator, we've worked on to make much faster, more performant, because this is our layout workhorse, right? That's the application that we use most to create layouts for print, for increasingly also for digital documents. And again here, let me just go back to my iPad a second. One thing that I can do here, and I'm going to close this image here, for example, take a layout. Let me take this print layout, for example, and if I open that, and from Adobe Comp on my device, and remember, I can create layouts with text, with images, with stock imagery, like I've shown you before. But let's see how this actually sends the document to Adobe InDesign. So I'm going to send to InDesign, and again, Adobe Comp will take all of these elements together, package them, and sync them through CreativeSync back to my desktop. And once that's done, now it says it's done here. I see the little Creative Cloud icon doing things. And in just a short little while, I'm going to have this exact document. And again, this is another magic of CreativeSync, is if I have a font missing, InDesign will tell me, hey, that font is a Typekit font. Do you want me to activate that font from Typekit? And I said, oh, thank you, Typekit. Of course I want, because I say sync fonts. And then at that point, the font will be activated from Typekit through CreativeSync again. Am I saying CreativeSync too many times? But it's CreativeSync that actually allowed me to successfully sync that font to my desktop, and now I see the layout exactly like it was on my iPad, and I can continue to work with it. I can prepare it for print. I can prepare it for PDFX to send out to my printer. Or, increasingly, like I said, InDesign is becoming an application also that lets me create documents for EPUB. Text EPUB for the Kindle, for example, or increasingly also fixed layout EPUB that can include animation, that can include video, that can include audio. And here in this document here, let me just go through the pages a second, and I will show you some of the pages that we have here with video clips inside of the InDesign document. We have animation here. If I select some of the elements here, we see that we have the actual motion path of the element. And one really cool thing in InDesign is that I can actually go into interactive and actually see the EPUB interactive preview. And basically what that does, it renders the page, this exact same page, and shows me the animation that I have built on that page, okay? And then we're going to see the page entering with all of these mountains exactly like I've designed them inside of InDesign. So this is the type of animation and interactivity you can create in InDesign. So let me come to my second preview here today, and I'm going to move out of this preview and go to a thing that we call Publish Online. And again, you see the word preview here. This is something that we're working on. It's something we're testing, which is not readily, I mean, it's something that you can try, but it's not readily available. So let's go here, and what I can do now is say, okay, I want to publish this online. I can give it a file name, I can give it a description, I can, let me just export page number 1 here. Just to give you an idea, in advance, I have, of course, the possibility to choose whether I want to, I want to compress the images, etc., etc. And when I say OK, InDesign will take all of these elements and publish it online. It's uploading it, and we're there. And now I can view the document, and we're going to do that in a second. I have a URL that I can share with my customers, with my coworkers, with whoever needs to see that document. And I can even share it to Facebook from here. Okay, that's a whole new way of using your InDesign content for, for publishing or for creating your portfolio or for creating interactive content. So let's view that document a second. And the really cool thing is that it gets a URL that you can give out where people can access the document online. That's why it's called Publish Online. It's loading all of the elements as HTML, and here we go again with the same animations that we've seen in the preview, that we've seen in the InDesign document, and then as soon as the other image moves in, we will also see the various effects that I've applied on the page. For example, the rollover effect, okay, if I go over here with my mouse. So again, this is one of those other things that we're working. Like I said, I wanted to talk about the past, the present, and the future. And this is one of those things that will be available soon in InDesign for everybody, because I think this is a very, very powerful tool for all of us InDesigners to be able to publish to even more media than before. Thank you. And we're going to move now to Michael. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rufus.
Yeah, well, introduce your subject. You can do that yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Now I want to talk a little bit about an application. I don't know if you know this one. It's called Photoshop. Yeah? You know this one? But Photoshop for designers, because since the introduction of Creative Cloud, the Photoshop team has done a ton of work for designers. Today, if you look at UX designer, screen designers, they have to face so many challenges because they have to create screen design, but for multiple resolution, and then they have to extract all the assets and share these assets with the developers who will create mobile apps or responsive websites, for instance. So I want to show you how you can work today in Photoshop CC 2015, and I think you will like it. So first, usually I start with a blank page, and I do a wireframe, okay, to create the composition of my design. So you can now directly add some shapes, and you will see some smart guides appearing to show you that this is centered. And from any shape, I can go in View and create guides from the shape, okay, to define the structure of my page. So let's say that I want to add 3 blocks. Okay, let me add the first one here. And then as I'm moving the other one, you see all the smart guides. And again, here, it will automatically snap, okay, to keep the same distance. And if I select my 3 shapes and create the guides from the shapes, I have the structure of my page. Okay, so you start in Photoshop, you create very quickly your wireframe. And the beauty of Photoshop is, of course, that you can create visual design. You can start working with the pictures coming from Adobe Stock. You can integrate the font coming from Typekit and design this beautiful screen. But it's true that there is a limitation in Photoshop, is that here I'm designing this screen for this resolution, but when I will work with other designers and developers, they need multiple screens. So that's why I'm very excited to announce that today, in Photoshop CC 2015, you can now play with artboards. So the same technology that you have in Illustrator is now available in Photoshop. So let me show you how it works. If you go to the Move tool here, there is the new artboard tool. And it's very easy because you just have to select something and say, this is an artboard, and rename it. And it appears in the Layers panel and say, for instance, this is my home screen. And then I can duplicate the artboard and start working on another design. Or I can create a new artboard from scratch and use the presets to say that maybe I want to design something for the Apple Watch. OK, why not? You know? Or maybe the iPad mini. Yeah. And then how it works, you can still select elements in other part of your design. And if you drag and drop the elements, it would be part of the artboard. It's very easy. If you look at the ruler here, it's 0 because I'm working in this one. Now if I select something here, 0 is there. Okay? So super easy to understand, very easy to share. And this is how you can quickly get something like this, when you can share a project with multiple screen resolutions, and work with the designer. But there is more, because you will tell me, OK, but imagine what if the customer is not happy with the blue here. Okay? He wants another color when the tab is activated.
You mean a customer like me?
Yeah, a customer like you. He wants more love or something, yeah. So what is good is that today, with Creative Cloud and CreativeSync, as I said previously, you can use linked smart objects in your design, which means that if I select this and double-click here, to open this linked smart object, I just have to select the object here and select some yellow, for instance. Press Save. and if I go back to my artboard, this is yellow everywhere. Okay? And look at the icon also. Let's say that another designer, maybe in Paris, is working on the icon in Illustrator, the one with the bike. Well, I can just, again, it's a linked smart object, so I can just select the shape and fill in this one, for instance. Press Save. It will be synced through Creative Cloud and updated everywhere. Here we go. Now I have the icon on all my files, and I can have also 10 PSD files, and it will be updated everywhere in all my projects. Okay. So this is really a new way to work, like very more efficient, more productive than all the previous versions of Photoshop. But there is more, because you will tell me, OK, now you can design screens in Photoshop. That's great. But Photoshop at the origin, and we celebrate the 25th anniversary, hasn't been created to design screens. So that's why I'm also very thrilled to announce that the Photoshop team is introducing for the first time in the history of Photoshop a preview to gather feedback from the community, from you guys, to improve the user interface to design screens in Photoshop. It's a feature that you can find in the preferences in what we call the technology previews. So you just have to check this box and enable design space. Okay, that's the name of this new preview. And you can activate it at any time, just clicking on this switch. So let's see what's going on. I'm still in Photoshop, but I have this very clean UI. And that's very, very neat. Like, you know, with Photoshop, we play with layers all the time, and we say, OK, where is this element in which layer? Now you just have to click and double-click to get inside a layer. OK, I can select this element, for instance, or this one, edit the text, and everything is there in the Layers panel. Also, you will get some drawing tools. So here we go. If I go there, I can add a rectangle directly. I don't have to open New Tool. And then directly from this panel, I can change the dimensions. So we introduced something that is really cool, that I really like. I can type, for instance, 253 divided by 3. OK, and it will calculate the dimensions for me. I can play with the radius. I don't have to open another panel. I can change the color using this, or I can directly type the value that I need without opening a new pop-up window. And this is how you can get so efficient, much more productive using this design space, okay, dedicated to UX designers. And this is so new and so efficient that we wanted to make a small test internally. So we said, OK, let's try to design this screen with the classic mode, okay, in Photoshop, and the same screen with the design space. And we use a software that can track the mouse, okay, to understand what is going on in the software. So in Photoshop, with the classic UI, this is what you would have to do. You have to go left, select a tool, set the parameters, open the layers, etc. And now this is exactly the same creation process, but using the design space. Much more efficient, much more compact. Everything is on the panel. And again, it's a preview technology, so we're waiting for your feedback. Okay, feel free to try it. It's a very agile framework, so we can very easily adapt the UI for you. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. And at any time, you can go back to the desktop, the classic desktop mode that you have in Photoshop. So this is good to design applications, as you see, but also it's great for all web designers if you have to design the pages for all the screen resolution and maybe targeting a responsive web design. So here, this is a good example. But then, you know as a designer that when you target screens, you want to feel your design directly on the screen. So that's why we are also introducing a new technology that is just in Photoshop CC 2015, and which is called Device Preview. So I will just open this window here to show you that there is this free app on iOS, Adobe Preview, that you can download today. Just launch Adobe Preview, and then you have to be on the same Wi-Fi, or you just have to plug it with USB, and we have a live preview of your design directly on the device. So here I just have one device today, one iPhone, but you can have 10 different devices in front of you, and it will sync everything, and you can try different things. So here, on my iPhone, I just have to tap and say, I want to see the iPhone artboard. And it will generate a preview so that I can feel the design on my iPhone. And if I continue editing here, my picture, so let me do something very trash here, just a few seconds after, CreativeSync will update the design on the iPhone, and then I have a live preview. I could even play with the title and say, I want to write Berlin here, and see how it goes, and then I will get Berlin and directly feel how it's behaving on the device. So it's very powerful. Yeah, you can clap. I agree. It will be useful. I agree. I will use it all the time, personally. And then, OK, you have your design, but you need to extract all the assets for the developer. So the first time I launched Photoshop CC 2015, I was looking for Save for the Web. And I'm like, oh, my God, it disappeared. Save for the Web disappeared. Oh, no. Because there is a new extract mode, export as and quick export. Quick export is very useful. It will generate one PNG file per artboard. Okay? So if you have like 10 artboards, one PNG file per artboard. Very useful. And then there is the new export. So if you select a layer, such as this image, now you just have to right-click on the layer and say Export As, and then you choose if you want a JPEG, a PNG, a GIF, or even an SVG file. Okay? If you create some vector art in Photoshop, you can now export SVG directly from Photoshop. Okay? So it's a brand new way to extract all the assets. And now all the assets are ready, and you can send it to the developer that is obviously using Dreamweaver. So now I'm in Dreamweaver CC 2015. And it's really a brand new version, especially if you want to make responsive web pages. First, on the left, I have this extract panel. So let's say I'm just a developer. I don't even know how to use Photoshop. And I receive a PSD file that is stored in Creative Cloud. I can open now in Dreamweaver a PSD file. Actually, it's sent by Creative Cloud directly in Dreamweaver, select the element, such as the text, and it will generate all the CSS properties for me based on the text. I can also select two elements on my design, and it will tell me what is the distance, how many pixels are between my elements. And there is more. You see that in my page, this image is missing. So I just have to select it here. Again, what you see here is the PSD in the Creative Cloud. I just have to select it here, and in my code, I will type src, and it will say, oh, there is this image that I can extract from the PSD in Creative Cloud. So we say, OK, let's do that. It will extract the asset, put it on my disk, and once it's ready, OK, now it's ready, I have the image right in my design. Okay? So a brand new workflow to be more efficient with CC 2015. And then I want to build responsive web pages. And yeah, I see some people like, oh, look at the top, what's happening? Visual media queries. So for the first time, you will be able to see what are the media queries of your design. And you can play with the slider to see the behavior of your page, depending on the screen resolution. If you want to add a media query, you just stop the slider and add a breakpoint here. It will create a media query and say, I will use this CSS. It's that easy. You can also click on the media query. It will resize it. And then I look at my design. OK, this one is not perfect. I can directly resize it. And you see it will snap with columns. It's because Dreamweaver for responsive design is now based on Twitter Bootstrap, which is the standard to build responsive web pages. So I can select it and directly remove the CSS here. And now I have a perfect responsive page. Super easy, very visual, and you can edit the code at any time. And then you will tell me, OK, but maybe I want to test this page also on my device in real time. Well, this is also possible because now we also have device preview in Dreamweaver. But this time we won't send an image. Okay? We will directly generate the HTML, CSS, everything, and you just have to scan this barcode. It will open your browser, and you will see the page. So if I go back to QuickTime here, this is the page. This is the HTML page. And again, you can update your code this time. Not the pixels, like the code in real time. So if I go here and say that it's not fashion, it's Berlin, and this is HTML, now it's already Berlin here on my device, on my iPhone. And you have all the updates in real time, and again, you can have 15, 100 devices on the table, and you will see all the updates in real time. So I really believe that with this release, the 2015 release, we introduce a great workflow, a unique workflow between designers, developers from wireframe, visual design, export the assets, and to build responsive web pages in Photoshop CC and Dreamweaver CC. Okay? And I hope you will like it. It's available today, so just try it.
All right, so that's an incredible amount of stuff in there. We saw new creative options such as charts in Illustrator, dynamic pubs in InDesign, a greater ability to work with and create responsive designs in Dreamweaver. Saw some incredible performance improvements in Illustrator, and I'm particularly proud of the emphasis that Photoshop has put on designers this release. Artboards is just a killer feature, and with Design Space, we're inviting people to come into our development process earlier than ever before and really showing an early stage development of this new capability to streamline the UI for a specific task and getting community feedback so we can make the UI right. So this is super early stage, and the intent is to get feedback so that the UI really conforms to the way that you want to work. All right, so now let's turn to something near and dear to my heart and look at the latest innovations in photography. So as we showed in the video earlier, this was the 25th anniversary of Photoshop, a historic milestone for this iconic product, and we've been particularly proud of it. And this milestone has given us cause to kind of reflect on how much the creative world has changed over the decades and the role that Adobe has played in that transformation. Back when we created Photoshop 1.0, people pretty much worked on a single device and worked in isolation with a small number of assets. But in 2+ decades, the world has changed dramatically, and we're working across multiple devices with many people and with just countless assets. Art has challenged technology, and technology has inspired art. And the creative world we work in now is as different as night and day from when we started 25 years ago. So now, to show you the latest technology to help inspire your art, I'm going to ask Rufus to take you through the photography features for the 2015 release. Rufus?
Thank you again, Winston. So yeah, in the next slot, I will talk to you a little bit about Lightroom, Lightroom Mobile, and Photoshop in the photography workflow. Because there's been tremendous changes there as well, and tremendous improvements in speed and performance. But before I start, let me ask you this. How many of you take pictures? That's almost everybody, yeah. How many of you have written photographer on their business card? Okay, that's much fewer. But one thing that is common to us all is our need to organize our increasing number of images, to work with all this data, all these images on our desktop, but also on mobile. And this is what's really cool about Lightroom Mobile, which I'm going to show you in a second, which is the companion app to Lightroom on your desktop, and that's available both on iOS and Android. And the cool thing about it is that it's tightly linked to your Lightroom on the desktop. So basically, the libraries, the collections you choose to sync with your mobile device will be available on your mobile device. So let's move over here to my iPad for a second, and I will launch Lightroom Mobile from here. And basically, what we have here are my collections, the ones that I've chosen to import on my mobile device. Of course, these are not the full resolution images that are imported on my mobile device. That would be crazy. But the cool thing about the Lightroom mobile workflow to Lightroom on the desktop is that whatever changes I make on my mobile device are non-destructive, just like on Lightroom, and are transferred over to the images on my desktop computer once the libraries sync. Okay? So for example, if I open this little preference panel here, you see that it's very useful that I can add directly photos from the camera of my device, be that my phone or my iPad here. I can even enable auto add, so whatever goes into my photo gallery on my mobile device automatically gets added into a collection in Lightroom Mobile, and hence gets synced back to my desktop. And from here, I can also do a whole bunch of things like start a slate. I don't know how many of you have tried Adobe Slate. Adobe Slate is a great storytelling application that lets me use images and text to write compelling stories. I can rename it, I can remove it, I can even go into presentation mode. All of this from here. But let me go into these images for a second. And basically what I can do directly from here, I can, of course, choose to go here on the side and use the flags here to flag my images or to rate them with a star system. I even have the histogram here. I have the information about how the image was shot and everything. If I go here, I can view the images as a film strip underneath the images themselves. I can crop the images. I can use presets and adjustments. I'll show you that in a second. But one of my favorite viewing mode, of course, is full screen on my device, because that allows me to go through my pictures and very, very quickly decide which ones I want to flag, which ones I want to rate with stars, and what I want to do with them. So basically what I can do is, with my finger, simply go over the image and start using the little flags here. But what if I like the stars, rather than the flags? I just press on it a second, and I go to speed rating. Oh, now I have the stars. But it gets even better, because now I can do both, speed review combined, meaning that on the left side, I have my flags, and on the right side, I have my stars. All right, so I can really, really quickly go through my images and say, okay, no, this one I'll reject. This one, oh, this one is nice. Let me pick this one and give it a 4 star maybe, and go on like this, reviewing my pictures. Okay, so that's become really, really fast inside of Lightroom Mobile, and makes total sense, because this is something that I can easily do on the go, on a train, on a plane, on a U-Bahn. Okay? So let me go back here and take another picture, for example. Let's take this one here, for example, and go into the presets, because there's a whole bunch of presets that I can apply directly here inside of Lightroom Mobile. So there's a whole bunch of creative presets. For example, let me see if let me do some color presets here. Maybe to have more dynamic colors, I'll use the dynamic color preset. Okay, that gets applied. But again, this is non-destructive. These are presets that are applied just in the Lightroom way, okay, so that nothing gets destroyed, but only gets rendered as you watch the images, and then as you export the images, of course. I can also go here, add maybe a little bit more detail or clarity. Let's add some medium clarity to it. Okay, that's good for my mountains. Awesome. And then I can also go into the adjustment panel here and say maybe, let's play with the exposure a little bit. And just by using my finger here, I can change the exposure on that image. Okay? So these are a whole bunch of cool things that I can do right here on Lightroom Mobile. And all of these changes, like I said, will be synced back to Lightroom on the desktop. But we'll look at that in a second. What I want to do now, though, is maybe add a more dramatic sky to that image. And this is something that I would have typically done in Photoshop. Okay, I take an image in Photoshop, make a selection, change the sky. But now, on the iPad and on Android devices, we have Photoshop Mix. Photoshop Mix is an application that lets me do composites, and also lets me do selective edits and compositions inside on my mobile device. So let's take this image here, for example, and say I want to export that, and I will say I want to open that image in it'll open, it's rendering the image, and I want to open it in Photoshop Mix. So this image is now sent over to Photoshop Mix. Opening Photoshop Mix. OK, now it's, oh, that's a nice new splash screen for Photoshop Mix with the flying whale. And here I have layers. I have 2 layers that I can play with and a whole bunch of things that I can do. I can adjust the image a bit more. I can apply looks a little bit like Instagram for natural looks, portrait, brighten, vivid, etc. But like I said, what I want to do right now is to remove the sky and put a new sky in it. So let's get out of here and use the cutout feature here. And basically, what I want to do here is simply I'll go over the sky with my finger and make the selection of the sky. Okay? And then I'll say invert the selection, and now I have the whole mountains cut out of this sky. Okay? And that on my mobile device. And I can also feather the edges a little bit more. I can also refine the selection by adding or removing here. But let me just remove refine edge a second so you get a sense of how the selection normally is on a mobile device, okay, like very pixelized. But thanks to our Photoshop technology in Photoshop Mix, we have the ability to make smoother and more accurate selections on our mobile device. So let's say OK to this, and Photoshop Mix will say, oh, now you've cut something out. Let's add an image. So let's add an image. Let's add a background image. So let's say plus here. And I have one in my Creative Cloud. And I'll go in my libraries here. It's loading the libraries. And I have these very dramatic clouds that I put into my Photoshop library. And I want to take those. So let's take this. And through CreativeSync, I'm going to say Open File. And this file is now going to be downloaded into the background of that image. And of course, both the mountains and the background can be changed. You know, I can go in here and choose the exact position of these clouds. Maybe I want to rotate them a little bit. And then I say OK to that. But maybe I want to add a look to those clouds, because these are the Italian Alps, right? I thought maybe it would be cool to have a California sky. All right, so let's go here and say I want the California sky here in the mountain and apply that look to the clouds in the background. All right? So very good. I can apply that. And now I'm done. I can do more edits. I can merge these layers together, do another layer of composition, etc. But the cool thing is that I can now export that image to various places. I can save it to my library on my mobile device. I can send it to Photoshop, which I'll do in a second. I can save it to Lightroom to further edit it inside of Lightroom Mobile, save it to the camera roll, publish as work in progress in Behance, because this is such an important part of this whole Creative Cloud world that we've built. The community, I want feedback from the community about that image, so I can publish it as work in progress on Behance. I can publish it to Facebook, to Instagram, directly from the application. So it's really interesting that finally I can do composites on my mobile device and share those very, very broadly. So let's say send that to Photoshop. So it's taking the image, it's applying all of these things that we've just created with this image. And let me go into Photoshop. This will take just a few seconds because it's not such a small image, and it's rendering it still. Let's see what else. Come on, you can do it. Again, it's syncing. Syncing very hard. Yes. And it's still rendering, OK. Otherwise, we'll just let it render and come back to Photoshop in a second, because we can also go into, let's go back to Photoshop in a second once it's finished rendering. Let's go to Lightroom, because here, what I can see is that all of these changes that I've made in my Lightroom Mobile are actually also present here. So all the stars that I've given, the flags that I've applied on the images on Lightroom Mobile are now synced back. And the way I can see that is that if I go here into my folders, there's a little icon here that says it's actually syncing, you know, with the iPhone or with the iPad. So this is how I can tell that, that some of the collections are syncing. So if we look at Lightroom, there's there's been a tremendous amount of work for speed. And also, Lightroom now leverages the GPU on your machines, okay? So basically, what we've found is that on a 5K display, for example, Lightroom is 800 times faster than the previous version. Okay? So really leveraging the GPU is a great step forward for images. Zooming in, zooming out, loading images into the view, etc., has become much, much faster. And this is, again, something that in the Lightroom preferences, there's a whole panel called Performance, and that's where you can actually use the graphics processor of your machine. You can turn that on and off, okay? So very important, just like in Illustrator, just like in Photoshop and InDesign, work on performance has been really tremendous. But one feature that I really love here, let me go to all of my photographs here, is this one. Let me open this picture. This is a very nice picture of this beautiful tree in the haze in the morning. But maybe I would like the same picture without the haze, without this fog, because I want a little bit more detail. So let me introduce a new develop setting here inside of the develop module that we call dehaze. It's all the way down here, and it's called dehaze, all right? And basically what this filter does, it removes the haze from images. Yes? This is magic, you know? This is like, come on, say it with me. It's Adobe Kedabra. Yes? It's total magic. And of course, if I want to have the opposite, if I think that fog is really cool in that image, I can say, you know what? Add some fog, right? Let me get the image really, really back into the distance. Now, another thing that is new in this new Lightroom is the ability to do HDR and panoramas directly from within Lightroom without having to go to Photoshop. So let me show you an example of that. Let me take a couple of pictures that I have here. Let me take these cave pictures. So we have a very dark one with no information inside of the cave because it's too dark, but the information of the sky from outside. And then another one that gives us all of the information that we need about the rocks inside of the cave, but with the sky burned out, okay? And this is the basic of an HDR image, the high dynamic range images. So we take bracketed images with various varying exposures, and then we put them together. So again, here, I can select both of these images, and control-clicking them, I can go to the new photo merge and say, merge these two images into an HDR. And then, of course, there's a couple of options that I can use in HDR. And, of course, there is deghosting. Deghosting is very important when you have birds flying around and they're not in each image. So basically, they will result as ghosts. And you can eliminate those automatically. There's also auto-align and auto-tone in case you didn't use a tripod to take these pictures. And this is the result that we would get. And let me just merge these images together so we can start zooming in a little bit. Actually, while it's working, it's actually doing it pretty quickly. And the benefit of that is that these images are still raw data. This is still a DNG, a digital negative. So all of the tools that you have in Lightroom, you can continue to use on those images. They haven't been transformed to some pixelated JPEG or something like that. This is still full information about the image. And you have access to that inside of Lightroom, of course. So if I go in here and zoom into here, we see really that we have now the detail from inside of the cave and the detail of the sky. This is really the beauty of HDR. Another thing that we've implemented in Lightroom is the ability to create panoramas. And here again, let me take a few pictures that I have here. And let me just select these pictures. These are, again, raw pictures. They are really big pictures. Control-click and add photo merge, panorama. And then in this window, of course, I can choose whether I want a spherical panorama, if I want a cylindrical panorama, if I want a perspective panorama. And basically, this is what we have. And then the new auto crop here is also very useful because it can save me the image in Lightroom without the white border around it. Okay? So it'll simply set a crop around the image that I can still work on because, like everything in Lightroom, everything is non-destructive. So let's say, OK, merge. And this will take some time. So let me open one that I already have here. And let me just zoom out. So we have the picture. You see that it's still creating the panorama. But basically, this is what I get, the full panorama image inside of Lightroom. So from Lightroom, there's some things that I still need Photoshop for. For example, if I needed to fill in these blanks around the panorama, that is something that content-aware in Photoshop would be very good at doing. So let's control-click this image and say that I want to edit that in Photoshop 2015. And there's a network error on my Photoshop mix, so let's try again. I will keep on trying. OK, sending to Photoshop. But here we are now in Photoshop with my panorama. Let me see. Oh, it's still doing something? Oh, didn't send it. Let me do that again. Edit in Photoshop. Is Photoshop syncing? Oh, now it's taking the image. Okay? All right, and now we're in Photoshop with the full resolution image. This is a 350 megabyte image right now, okay? This is really the full image that we've created in Lightroom. And of course here, there's a whole bunch of things that I can do. For example, use the content-aware fill to fill in the blank areas here. So let me use a rather old tool like the Magic Wand tool and select all of these blank areas. And I go into select, and I also say select similar. Here we go. And I'm actually going to modify that and expand the selection a little bit. Let's expand it by 5 pixels. All right, so it grows into the image a little bit. And then Command-Delete. Oh, no. Let me just Shift-Delete. Yes. I will use content-aware for filling, okay, with color adaptation, blending, and say OK. And remember, this is a rather large image. But what Photoshop is doing now, it's looking at all of the borders of that image and actually creating content that wasn't there. So I'm just going to let it finish a second, because this is, again, this is really Photoshop magic, the ability to create content from what Photoshop thinks should be there, like right now. And again, if I zoom in here, yes, this is pretty incredible. It actually filled the sky with something very, very credible, okay? And this is something this is a part of the image that wasn't there. So basically, we saved a whole bunch of that image. Let me just show you one last thing here, and then we're going to move on. It's the new content-aware move functionality. So for example, if I want to work on that island here, and let me just take the island, and of course, I could decide to delete that little grass island here, but what I really want to do is to move it closer to me, and I want it a little bit larger. And this is also new, because now, when I do the content-aware move, and again, here I can change the structure and the color, or sampling all layers and things like that. But when I start moving it to a new position, I also have the opportunity now to make the selection bigger. Okay? This is new. First, in the past, I could only move things around, but not really scale them and rotate them. Now I can do that. So when I press Enter, what happens is that the grass island in the background actually gets filled with content-aware, and the island in the front gets placed there. All right? Again, that's a very good example of Photoshop magic. And right now, the Photoshop mix file hasn't come over yet, but we're going to move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Rufus. So we're really excited about this 2015 release for photography. This is an industry-leading solution, and with the Creative Cloud Photography Plan, it's available to everyone. Ansel Adams once said that you don't take a photograph, you make a photograph. And with these tools and its availability to everyone, everyone can make their greatest photograph. So now, last but not least, let's turn to the significant innovations the video team has done across the whole video suite, and the great ways that video professionals are now enabled to enrich what they can create. So Michael, why don't you show us the latest innovations in video?
Yeah, thanks, Winston. So I'm very excited to show you what's new for video makers. I am myself a video maker. I shoot videos with my DSLR camera, and there is a technique that you see all the time now with video makers, is that when you shoot, you try to shoot with a flat image, a grayish image, because you want to keep all the information directly going to the sensor. You don't want the camera to compute and destroy the information. So if you look at this shot here, okay, it has been shot in Paris. It's based on the Assassin's Creed, you know, the video game. You feel that the image is very flat, very grayish. And this is exactly what we need, okay, when we do videos. But then the next step is to give a cinematic look to this video, okay, to produce more emotion. So usually what I would do is that I would work with someone else, or I would directly send everything to speed grade to give it a better look with color grading. But now we are introducing a new panel, a new workspace, which is the color workspace for video makers. And this is what I call the best of speed grade and the best of Lightroom in Premiere Pro. And seriously, you will understand why. So I will open here the new color workspace, a professional workspace that comes first with a Lumetri scope, because here we will create a Lumetri file, we will create a look. So if I go here, you can see that it will detect all the moves in real time and identify where is the saturation for each levels and each primary colors. And now I have this panel here. So if I click on my adjustment layer, I first have the basic correction. And I can import a LUT file. And this is very great because if I know the camera that has been used, for instance, a Blackmagic or a Red Epic, I can load the profile of the camera, and it will automatically identify all the contrast, the saturation, to give a look. Okay? Or you can choose to start from scratch and directly play with the temperature to make it look colder or warmer, the tint, the exposure, and it's exactly the same UI that you have in Lightroom. Okay? It's like playing with a picture, but this time I'm creating a look in real time, so we'll add more contrast here. Okay, increase the shadows, diminish the black, and it's already starting to give a different look. Okay, this is before, grayish, and after with more contrast. Then I can increase the saturation and also import what we call the creative look. So there are two kinds of look. First, there are some like the clean punch or gold orange that will really do something like very, very strong, okay, that you see a lot of in the TV commercials, especially with sport when there is a lot of action, they use these kind of settings. But what I prefer, because I like to have a more cinematic look, is that you can also access very, very famous films such as the Fuji Eterna that we use in the movie industry for 40 years. Okay? So it's another film that now you can use in the digital world. And my favorite one is the Kodak, this one. And now I can set the intensity to make it look really like an old movie in this case, and maybe add a faded film, okay, to raise the black, play with the shadow tint, and even the curves. So settings that you usually have in Photoshop are now also available in Premiere. So if I want to play with my curve, okay, diminish the black, but keep the highlight, I can blur the image like this very easily. I mean, you all know this panel. And my favorite one is this one, the hue saturation curve. So let's say that I want to work on the detail in my video. So look at the shoulder here. It's around yellow and orange, but I really want it to pop, you know, in my video. So I will go here and try to find where is this detail to make it pop. Here we go, it's here. Now it's very saturated. If I go here, it becomes gray. You see? And very easily, I can define the style of my picture. But again, this is real time for the entire video. Just for some clips, I mean, you decide. And this is really unique, very, very fast. And if you are a professional digital colorist, you are also familiar with the color wheels, something that you have in SpeedGrade. And if you want to, for instance, make it look like you shot it during a sunset, you just have to shift the midtones to make it warmer, something like this. And you can even add, in one click, a vignette effect, something that you also have in Lightroom that is super difficult in Premiere Pro. Now it's just one slider. So nice. So now I have this look, and again, it's applied on all my introduction. This is great. So let me show you. Before, very flat. After, before, after. And now these guys are in real trouble because they have Assassin's Creed behind them. So this is the new color workspace, yeah. Really excited. Thanks. But then maybe you are not familiar with all these concepts, and maybe you are in Berlin like me yesterday, and you see a light in colors that you really like. So we have Adobe Color to capture colors for graphic design, for InDesign, and now we have the same concept to capture the mood, the light of the day, the colors of your environment, but for video. So it's a new application released today on the App Store called Adobe Hue. So how does it work? It will analyze in real time the color of your environment. And you see all the little bubbles. It's a 3D representation of hue and saturation. It will analyze everything to create a 32-bit look file. Okay? And then I can capture the mood. And I have a sample over there to say what I like here is the red atmosphere or the blue atmosphere, and I can apply it more or less. I can try on a different sample to see how it goes. And once I'm happy with the mood, I just have to press OK, call it room, save. And again, using CreativeSync, it's automatically available in Premiere, After Effects, through the Creative Cloud libraries, and I can apply this look directly in my tools. So now, I'm also happy to announce that Creative Cloud libraries are today available also in Premiere Pro and After Effects. So you can get the shapes, brushes, colors, looks, everything, and use them in your videos. So I can open my library here, and this is a look of, what's the name of the huge garden in Berlin with the zoo?
Tiergarten.
Tiergarten, okay. So this is a shot of Tiergarten yesterday. There was a beautiful light. It was so green that I created a look. And what I wanted to do is to create a green atmosphere, a little bit like The Matrix, you know, where they have this green shots. So I will just apply the look here on my adjustment layer. Here we go. Let's try again. And yes, it's supposed to apply the look. So maybe Berlin Street. Oh, OK. And sometimes there is a bug, which is the user. Okay? So when you see this, it means there's okay. Okay. And so you see this light with the green atmosphere. This is exactly the light I had yesterday visiting the garden in Berlin with all the trees. And now it's applied in Paris on my shot. Okay. So that's the beauty of Adobe Hue. And that's like unique on the market, completely new. Now let's switch to After Effects, which is the leading tool. So Premiere Pro is the leading tool for editing in the video industry. After Effects is also a leading tool for motion designers and visual effects. And the team worked so hard, they had to rebuild the rendering engine from scratch. You know why? Because in After Effects, the rendering engine was in the same thread than the UI, which means that a simple copy-paste in the UI would stop the preview. But you see, it's not the case anymore, because it's separated. So it's really much better, because now I can work on a sub-composition, such as what is on the right, and that is projected on the helmet, and you see the preview in real time, and change the colors. To say, OK, let's do something pink, and the preview doesn't stop. And now the yellow, let's try something green. The preview doesn't stop. I can also use my Creative Cloud libraries, and maybe Rufus will design something in Illustrator, sync it through CreativeSync, and I will just have to drag and drop it on my comp, and it's on the helmet. and I can see it in real time, and it should be projected in 3D on the helmet. Okay. So a fresh new engine, yeah. That's really amazing. Game changer, like it's night and day compared with all the previous versions of After Effects. So CC 2015, really a fresh new version for After Effects. I'm really excited. And it's not only about performance. You will see that there are tons of new features. I will show you my favorite one, which is the face tracker. Okay, I don't need this one anymore. Okay, so look at these guys. At the end, oh my God, what's happening here? So usually what you do is you track some shapes in with After Effects. You can track, I don't know, a mobile device on a table, et cetera, et cetera. You can also, usually what we used to do with After Effects is that we would create a mask, so on the clip, to say, okay, I need to play with this guy. And then using the tracker, we would just track the position. Okay. So this is what you can do today. But now with After Effects 2015, what you can say is that this is a face. This is not an object. And it will detect automatically the shape of the face. See? Again, this is just the appetizer, because the team worked so hard that they say, maybe we can track more. Maybe we can also track the eyes, the mouth, everything, to create keyframes. And now I can track everything on my video. All these dots. And this is how you can end with something like this. You just have to add elements and make them look really ridiculous very easily. So I've always dreamt to say something, so I will say it now. One more thing.
One more thing.
Okay. So we are introducing a preview technology in After Effects for all characters animators. And we said, hey, maybe we can use this face tracker technology to animate characters. So in After Effects, you will find this, which is Character Animator, where you can load characters that you can build in Photoshop and Illustrator. Okay, we explain how to build a skeleton with different layers. And how to animate this character? Well, I have a webcam here. So in real time, it will track my face. And I can also play with the mouse and say, hello, Berlin. How are you? Okay. So that's quite impressive. But when it comes really amazing is that you can record everything. Yeah, this is weird, I know. So I can start recording something using the microphone and say, oh, why is it so hard to understand you? And then I would switch to another character, so it will create all the keyframes, everything I need, and switch to the other fish, and now it will track my face to animate the other fish, okay? And I just have to press record. Well, this is maybe due to my fish accent. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
that's not an easy one, but it's a good joke. Okay, maybe tomorrow you will get it. And now I can press play, and this is the new Disney.
Oh, why is it so hard to understand you? Well, this is maybe due to my fish accent.
You see? So again, amazing technology available in CC 2015. This is a preview, so just try it, send feedback to the team, and yeah, I'm really amazed by and it keeps talking, so maybe Winston, it's better if you, if you talk.
Very cool. Thank you, Michael. So within video, professional color workflows available directly within Premiere. The ability to capture looks for your video on the go with the new Adobe Hue. And then finally, real-time editing and rendering straight within After Effects, and the preview of the Adobe Character Animator. I can't wait to see what you all create with that. So we've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope you'll agree that the 2015 release is just packed with innovation that really raises the bar on creativity. To sum up, updates across all of our creative apps that both supply new magic and additional performance and precision to allow you to work efficiently with the widest creative range as ever before. Adobe Stock, 40 million plus assets integrated directly within your creative workflow, making it easier than ever before to be able to leverage Stock. New mobile apps such as Comp and Adobe Hue, as well as our existing mobile apps moved over to Android. Huge performance improvements across the board. You saw Lightroom and Photoshop and Illustrator, InDesign. And then finally, CreativeSync is that heart of the whole thing that makes it all work, that makes your creative world, all your design assets, your preferences, your configuration available to you wherever you are. Overall, it's an incredibly exciting release, and we think it'll allow you to create in a way that you never have before and be more efficient than you ever have been. Thank you, everybody.